how in the world am I feeling better about somebody else who's trying to do what I'm doing? How they get brought down and I feel satisfied with that result. And yet another white peer, I wouldn't feel that way about.
Oh, when you sat with that and you began to reckon with it, what was the root?
I found the root because of that conditioning, man. I'm like, it worked on me.
So you felt like there was some part of you that was like,
that was satisfied with another brother who was trying to do what I was doing, like my competition. I don't care, I don't look at it as competition now, but at the time, I did not like that. That was not what I believed as a black man in this struggle. And I know how we've been taught to, that divide and conquer. I know too well about that
right.
to be part of that, to be on that side of it. No, that I don't want to go around and hate my damn self. So that was something that I'm going, no, I don't care what is for someone else. I can't have that in my life.
Man.
And so
Ooh, that's powerful.
but yeah, any white counterpart, I wouldn't have felt the same way, but I was satisfied that this actor had, misfortune. Nah, I did not like that feeling. I never feel that way since then.
Yeah.
Deep down. Now, when somebody is hurt, I feel the way I should feel. That's me.
Secrets.
What's happening? Shout out to Michael J. White for that. I'm not into praying for people's downfall. Sometimes people think I stick up for the wrong people. But in a general sense, I don't like kicking people when they down, and I don't like celebrating people's downfall. And one of the major reasons is, as he said, I've noticed that if we don't like somebody in our community, we'll celebrate their downfall, even if their downfall has sketchy circumstances around it. And for me, that's an issue. You get what I'm saying? Like, because what winds up happening is something happens to a person, the downfall happens, people jump on them like, yeah. And then years go by, and then all of a sudden you go, oh yeah, it was really some BS. So, but I'm just happy to see them fall. Like, I was looking at a video and I didn't download it, but I should have downloaded it. A brother was talking about Jay-Z. He wasn't gonna support Jay-Z. He's a Jay-Z fan, but he wasn't gonna buy tickets for the Jay-Z's concert. And he said, because of capitalism. He's like, he's against capitalism. And Jay-Z's a billionaire now, so I'm not supporting him because, of capitalism. But he was sitting there and he was wearing like a Supreme beanie, you know what I'm saying? Skull cap or whatever. And I'm like, that's a multi-billion-dollar company, but you could wear their stuff proudly. You can support them, but now, Jay-Z's a billionaire. I can't do it. And it's like that. And one of the guys, he was like, oh, if he only had 100 million, you support it. He's like, yeah. It's like, this is stupid. I remember um, Nate Parker, uh, Jonathan Majors running down the street. People celebrated Nate Parker. People celebrated Jonathan Majors. People celebrated. Um, let's do some controversial stuff. People celebrated Deshaun Watson, but didn't take two seconds to go. Well, if it was actually all his behavior, he wouldn't have got a guaranteed contract after that. Because nobody's going to give you $250 million. You get what I'm saying? It's like, nah, because people got to dig into stuff like that. But it is what it is. But, and I think about that because using a football reference, people didn't go, like people still to this day don't really go in on Ben Roethlisberger. His decisions when he was a young man. They really don't. You know what I'm saying? I forgot the guy that played the Flash. Like he was wild, but people don't. People just like. But when it comes to us, it's like, yeah, get him, get him, get him, kick him. He been winning too long. He got to suffer, and it's like, nah, you just a hater. And I'm a. I can say this. I'm a hater, but I'm a hater too. But not in my defense, I'm not actually hating on people's downfall. I'm just one of those people who like I'm home team. So if you ain't on my team, I'm hating. But do I want to see it succeed? Yes, but I'm gonna be but you wasn't all that though. But I lie to you. I lie and say you ain't all that. Be like, you was all that, but I just don't. You know what I'm saying? I'm hating right now. I can admit it. You get what I'm saying? But what I see now is like kind of with uh, uh, the rodeo just happened, and people was going in on uh, Tina Knowles and the gumbo, and I'm like, obviously y'all don't know gumbo, obviously, and I'm gonna say that for a reason. This is the reason. You don't mass produce gumbo like that, and when it's warm outside. Gumbo is more of a winter food, and it can be made in portions, but not for no mass group, right? And then like saying it take 18 hours. No, it don't take 18 hours to make gumbo. But gumbo is a difficult dish because you got to get the roux right. If you don't get the roux right, it's over with. And the roux takes time if you really want to make good gumbo. People like to take shortcuts and go, I can, do this roux and throw it in here and we good. But truth be told, man, that's a dish you got to take time to make. It takes time and effort. But people want to see somebody hurt so bad that they don't care. And part of what Michael Jai was talking about, but what I'm going to expound on something after that is we have a lot of grace for other people's mistakes. Everybody else don't have to be perfect. You get what I'm saying? I remember when Jack in the Box was on the news constantly for food contamination. But that was before Jack in the Box blew up. You get what I'm saying? I've been, I've seen a lot of bad service at restaurants. I've seen a lot of unprofessionalism in the corporate world, and I've seen a lot of unprofessionalism in business transactions. But people go, I've seen people have a theory or something, and it failed miserably. But people go, we could fix it. But with us, it's like, one and done. Like it's not true that it's one and done, but people have a one and done mentality with us in our own group. It's like, well, it ain't hitting off the bat. And it's like, yeah, but you don't treat other people like that. You don't, you know. And that's part of brainwashing, but really that's more so self-hate and hating on others. And, you know, for the people who are like that, you wonder why you're not as successful because, you know, all you surrounded yourself with is hate. And, you know, and people go, people used to talk about having haters, but having haters is so overrated. Being a hater is so overrated. You know, you wasting your life and time disparaging another person or group of people because they're doing something that you ain't got um the guts to do, or they just do it better than you and you're mad about that. You ain't trying to get better. You know what I mean? That's a thing. But as far as like checking that hate, that's more important to me. Like you gotta check that. You gotta check that. You know, it's the same thing. Like if you watch like ESPN, you notice how if it's a black athlete and he does something, breaking news. If it's a white athlete, you remember when y'all don't probably remember this when the NASCAR driver killed the guy, and he was like, I think it's on purpose the way he did that, but they just threw it under the rug. The other guy was beating his wife, threw it under the rug. Drug problems, threw it under the rug. But and I say that because the media does that. That's why black crime is so much more. Oh my God. And I will say this on social media. I think we've dialed back as black people in the comment section because people in social media who watch social media realize when black people do stuff, white people just show up out of the blue. Other groups of people just show up out of the blue just ridiculously. But when their group does it, the comment sections are are disabled. And it's like, oh, this is what people are doing. But but before you get to that, sometimes you might be stuck in that hater mentality. So you can't okay, black person has a bad situation, throw them under the bus. White person has the same situation. Well, Jesus loves us all. No, you can't do that. But I'm gonna leave it at that, man. Like, share, subscribe. Peace.